Welcome back to NUICfootball.com. I am your host, Kyle Kantmeyer. Last week brought us some surprises, and at the same time, most of the teams that moved on are exactly what we expected as we head into the quarterfinals this week. Du-Pec clinched their first ever run to the quarterfinals with a 50-19 win over Stillman Valley. That makes the third time an NUIC team beat a Big Northern team in these playoffs. But the biggest hurdle of them all remains as the Rivermen travel to take on number 1 ranked Byron this Saturday in the quarterfinals. Lena Winslow put up a running clock on Forston for just the second time in their 22-year history. The Panthers left no doubt in their 30th consecutive win as they move into the quarterfinals for the 7th consecutive season. They will host Annawan-Wethersfield on Saturday at Rick Aaron Field. Polo moves into the semifinals for the 4th consecutive year with an upset win over Milledgeville 28-8. In the regular season, Milledgeville won 58-22, which made this 56-point swing around for the Marcos even more impressive. Battling injuries early in the season has seemed to help the Marcos prepare for another shot at state, but they will host number 1 ranked Amboy, who put up a running clock on Polo in Week 9. Can the Marcos make magic happen twice? Amboy continues to drill through the IAFA at an alarming rate as they knocked off FCW 62-7 to book their 3rd consecutive trip to the semifinals. This sets up an all-North 2 semifinal matchup, which will lead to a North 2 team being represented at the state championship for the 4th consecutive year. We're going to break down these matchups coming up next.
This NUICfootball.com production is powered by Lemon's Ambulance Service in Lena, Illinois. We always plan for the expected, but sometimes we need to plan for the unexpected. Lemons has been serving Stevenson and Joe Davies counties since 1869. Call someone you can trust in your time of need. Call Lemon's Ambulance Service.
Amboy travels to Polo, where they will meet the Marcos in the semifinals. Amboy enters this game perfect at 11-0, while Polo enters this game at 9-2. These two teams last met in Week 9, where Amboy won 52-6. Last week, Amboy beat FCW 62-7, while Polo beat Milledgeville 28-8. Amboy is going to enter this game as a 24-point favorite and are projected to win this game 48-26. One of the things that we're going to see in this game is definitely a Polo team that has proven to not just return from injuries, but they also appear to be a little bit more physical up front from what we've seen most of the year. And a lot of that is because some of the injuries that they had were coming off of their offensive and defensive lines. Against Milledgeville, they looked really good as they beat Milledgeville off the line the majority of the game, which is a huge turnaround from what was going on the first time those two teams met. Milledgeville had definitely controlled the tempo of the game. They controlled the line of scrimmage in that game. In the regular season, Polo returned the favor, made Milledgeville make mental mistakes, leading to penalties on the missiles, which set up opportunities for Polo to attack defensively, facing 3rd and 4th and long type situations. With that, Polo also got their run game going with Brock Solto gaining over 200 yards in the game, pushing his rush total up over 1,400 yards on the season. But at the same time, they were able to get a commanding lead at halftime, 20-8, that allowed them to really run the clock more, take more control in the second half. They did score one more touchdown in the second half for the final score of 28-8. But they were able to basically do the things that they wanted to do in the second half to control the tempo of that game. Amboy wasted no time after Flanagan Cornell Woodland scored the first touchdown of the game to go up 7-0. Amboy then turned around and quickly ran off 16 unanswered points, eventually stretching that lead to 24-7, and then it became a runaway where they eventually took control 62-7. And when you take a look at the stat breakdowns, their defense was off the charts. They were able to limit the rushing attack of Kessler Collins and Peyton Quaintance to both backs being held under 100 yards, even under 50 yards for that matter, and just literally shut down the Falcon offense without much effort in that game. With that, Eddie Jones was able to get some good passing yards, was able to hit Brennan Blaine for 3 receptions. All 3 of those receptions went for touchdowns. So that pushes Brennan Blaine over 2,500 yards receiving in his career. He also had his 100th reception in the career, and he has reached the 45 receiving touchdown plateau for his career as well. So all great numbers for Brennan Blaine as we look ahead here. The rushing attack of Quinn Leffelman and Landon Welchel also was a great thing for the Clippers, as we have seen Welchel almost reach his rushing total from a year ago. He's also closing in on 3,000 career yards. Needs a couple big games this week against Polo, and if they win again in the state championship, to allow him the opportunity to get there. But he's definitely within striking distance with under 400 yards to go to reach that mark. And, Quinn Leffelman as well has put up some big numbers as he's starting to get closer to that 2,000-yard mark. And he's only a junior, so there's a lot to look forward to out of Leffelman as he returns next year for his senior year. But taking a look at what these two teams have to do, we know that Polo is going to be everything to Brock Soto. They've done a good job of being able to get D'Lo Fernandez involved in the game. They've been able to get the passing attack with Noah Dewey going at different times. And against Amboy, they're going to have to do a couple more things to help them be able to neutralize the Clipper attack. What Amboy has done this year has really been off the charts in IFA play. They're averaging right around 55, 56 points a game, and they're only allowing about 10 or 11 points a game. Both of those numbers are just fantastic numbers that you don't typically see in 8-man football. The high scoring total is unique as well, because in 8-man you do expect to see the scoring numbers go up, but in the law of averages, you just don't see a team averaging that many points per game. You're usually going to run into somebody that can play defense against you and help harness those numbers down a little bit. But in Amboy's case, they keep clicking away. Polo's got a tough one in front of them, as they're going to be able to have to control these situations in order for this game to go in their favor. But what they both these teams have the experience. This is Polo's 4th consecutive year in the semifinals. They've been to the state game 2 of the last 3 years. They were, 4 seconds away from being in the state championship game last year when they lost on a walk-off touchdown run by West Central. Amboy, making their 3rd consecutive trip to the semifinals, finally broke through to that state championship game a year ago, where they came away runner-ups after losing to West Central. So the teams have experience. The championship pedigree definitely falls on Polo's shoulders in this game. But this game, I feel, especially with Polo healthy again, could be closer than what it'll definitely be closer than what we saw the first time around. But I think it might even be closer than what we have the projection at, with Amboy winning by 22 points. I think Polo can definitely slim that gap even more to where, it's going to take a big effort. Amboy has been the undisputed, uncontested #1 team wire to wire so far into the semifinals. It'll be interesting to see if that can hold, or if Polo can take control. It goes back to one of those things where I always say, you get into the playoffs, you got to watch out for Polo. They go through the regular season, they win quietly, win quietly, win quietly. They get into the playoffs, and you got a whole different Polo team there ready for these playoff runs. And like I always say, all Polo does is win. That's all they've done since they've been in 8-man football. So very good, intriguing matchup here. My pick to win is Amboy. Like I said, though, don't be surprised if this one's closer than what the projections state. Polo is always a tough out, especially when their game is being played in Polo and the stakes are high with the state championship game on the line.
Rose Bowman and the Choice Realty team understand that buying or selling real estate is among the most important financial transactions of your life. They are dedicated to providing personal and thorough service with a sharp focus on their clients' needs. Their licensed staff looks forward to assisting you in any of the following areas: residential, condominiums, new construction, land, farms, commercial, investment, or leasing. Choice Realty is locally owned and operated with offices in Freeport, Galena, and the Galena territories. So when it's time to buy or sell, give Rose Bowman a call at 630-697-2480.
Annawan-Wethersfield is going to make the trip to Lena Winslow, where the Titans enter this game with a 10-1 mark, and Lena Winslow enters on a 30-game winning streak as they are undefeated at 11-0. These two teams last met in the 2019 semifinals, where Lena Winslow won 44-30 on their way to their fourth state title in school history, and it also started their run of their consecutive state championship run is at the same time. Last week, Annawan-Wethersfield beat Morrison 13-6, and Lena Winslow won 46-14 over Forston to make this game happen. Lena Winslow enter the game as 18-point favorites and are projected to win 34-19. Now, some of the things that we can look at in this game are the two running backs. Annawan-Wethersfield has Zeb Rashid, who has ran for 1,459 yards on the season, is one of the key cogs to this Titan offense. Their lone loss came to Stark County back in week 2 or 3, and that was a game where Rashid went out with an injury, and you could see that the game definitely had to turn onto Dylan Ory's shoulders. Ory is the quarterback. He has ran for 805 yards on the season. He's thrown for 737 yards on the season. And in that loss to Stark County, that was his biggest game passing, as he threw for 194 yards that night in the absence of Zeb Rashid. On the receiving side of things, Colin Bismarck is the guy to watch for. He's their leading receiver with 353 yards. So one of the things that we've seen out of Annawan-Wethersfield is the ability to be a rushing team, but they will throw the ball when needed and as needed. Last week, they threw for a little over 100 yards against Morrison in a very tightly contested game. One of the big things, though, for Lena Winslow is the rushing attack that they have, especially with the breakout of Coburn Lynch, and, of course, the rushing attack of senior fullback Gage Dunker. Dunker has eclipsed the 2,000-yard mark on the season. He needs 138 yards in this game to break 4,000 career rushing yards in his career. And if he does that, he'll become the 6th running back in NUIC history to achieve that feat. So a lot of things on the table here for Gage Dunker, as he's already become the all-time rushing touchdown leader in NUIC history. Now he can add more to that exquisite resume that he's got. But that's not what he's worried about. What he is focused on is getting Lena Winslow back to that state title game, back to an opportunity for the chance to win their 4th consecutive state championship. They have to be able to get through Annawan-Wethersfield in order to get a matchup in the semifinals in what appears to be a big game between Hope and Aurora Christian. Chicago Hope, lost to Aurora Christian in the regular season, their only loss on the year. Since then, they've been dialing up teams left and right. And going into this quarterfinal round, Hope does look like the favorite to beat Aurora Christian this time around. So we'll see how that all matriculates. Clearly, either team, Hope or Aurora Christian, has ran into NUIC teams all within the past 3-4 seasons, and the NUIC has owned those matchups, but it does not mean that these two teams aren't very good. Both of these are highly rated teams in Class 1A. They're kind of where we expected them to both be, right here fighting for a quarterfinal matchup. So, or for a semifinal matchup in the quarterfinal round. So, very interesting matchups here between Annawan-Wethersfield, Leamon Winslow, and then the winner gets to play the winner of Hope and Aurora Christian. So, what we've seen out of Leamon Winslow, though, has been ball control, limited mistakes, and high scores. Definitely think that will continue to happen. I feel that the projected margin of victory for Leamon Winslow is actually smaller than what the true potential matchup will be. I feel that Leamon Winslow will definitely score well over 40 points. And they have a very high probability of holding Annawan-Wethersfield to under 20 points as well. And if they do, you can definitely expect Leamon Winslow to walk their way right into the semifinals where they'll await the winner. But like I said, things got to take place first. Annawan-Wethersfield is a very gritty team. They will come out and play physical. I think that the line size and strength off the line is going to favor the Panthers in this game. But at the same token, they do have some athletes that can make some plays if Leamon Winslow breaks down and has some holes to fill. Rashid's very fast. He's very physical. He's hard to get down to the ground. So Leamon Winslow is going to have to be able to contain him, hit low, get a group of guys there to gang tackle him, bring them to the ground, and keep doing that over and over and over. Offensively, Leamon Winslow just needs to do what Leamon Winslow does. Get that rush game going behind Dunker and Coburn Lynch, Nick Tippett, even Lucas Fye if he gets in there and gets some carries as well. Then that's the thing with Leamon Winslow. They have different guys that they can kind of get the ball to because everybody's going to try to focus on stopping Dunker. So if that focus happens, one of those other guys is definitely going to pick it up because they do have speed. They can get to the outside. If they can get to the outside, get to that second level, all it takes is one cut and they're gone. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, but my pick in this game is Leamon Winslow.
This portion of our broadcast is brought to you by Diedrich Epoxy Flooring. Serving Northern Illinois and Southern Wisconsin, Diedrich Epoxy is the source for all of your epoxy needs. Give Diedrich Epoxy Flooring a call today at 815-239-1158 for your free estimate.
Du-Pec travels to Byron for this quarterfinal matchup. These two teams last met in the 2019 playoffs in the second round where Byron won that game 46-14. The Rivermen enter at 9-2, while the number one ranked Tigers are 11-0. Last week, Du-Pec beat Stillman Valley 50-19, while Byron beat Piatone 56-7. Byron enters this game on paper as a 3-point favorite, but the projections have Byron winning this game 38-28. Taking a look at the way Byron has been putting up points, they're averaging well over 50 points a game. I don't see them being held to under 44 points in this game. I feel that Byron can definitely take more control in this game and kind of spread that projection out a little bit. I don't anticipate this game being a runaway like a lot of critics are thinking it might be. I feel that Du-Pec has shown that they do have the ability to stay in this game competitively with their passing game. But in order for that to happen, they're going to have to be able to take control of the ball. They're going to be able to have to give Cooper Hoffman a little bit of time to read downhill. what I expect this game to be comparable to is probably the Du-Pec game against Leamon-Winslow. It's about what Byron does as well, except they have thrown the ball a little bit more with Aiden Shank as he enters this game with 371 yards passing. But you have the running game of Caden Considine, Braden Knoll, who also is the leading receiver. So between those two guys, they've rushed for almost 2,000 yards combined. And then, like I said, Knoll's also the leading receiver with 155 yards. At times, you're going to see Kai Aiken get the ball as well. He's the third leading rusher for the Tigers on the season. So you can expect, that wing style or double wing style type offense to continue to be the carrier for the Tiger offense. Or mostly they run a traditional wing T style offense, and they're looking to run behind that big old line of theirs that gets a lot of love come playoff time with the hog trailer. A lot of people have Byron already slated for that state championship game in Normal come the day after Thanksgiving. But, you still have to be able to win the games to get there. And I feel that in 3A North this year, the top 4 teams in the North are the top 4 teams that remain in this bracket. And they've proven that by the way that they've won those games as well. It'll be interesting to see how Byron and Du-Pec match up with each other. Obviously, with Du-Pec, you got a leading rusher in Cooper Hoffman. He's also your leading thrower, passer. They have to be able to get Drew Williams into open space. They have to be able to find ways to get Jalen Nowd the ball as well in order to have a good opportunity to help spread out this Byron defense. If they can get some gaps and holes and then find ways to get Jackson Diedrich the ball at his tight end position as well, I feel like Du-Pec can have some success against this defense. Rushing the ball is still going to be the biggest issue for Du-Pec, but we did see them break out with well over 200 yards last week rushing. It's probably even closer to 300 yards against Stillman Valley. And Stillman Valley was a physical type team. They run a wing T and a straight T formation as well. So they do things that play power football, and they keep things going in that direction. I felt that Du-Pec made a couple mental mistakes in the first half that led to a closer game. They definitely had that battle back and forth where Du-Pec scored right off the first possession of that they had on the day. Stillman Valley then came back with another drive to match Du-Pec and tie up the game. Du-Pec was able to take that and then convert that into another score and regain the lead. And then they retained the lead after Stillman Valley came right back and scored again after they missed an extra point attempt. But later in the first half, Du-Pec started to look like they were getting beat up front. They weren't able to control the ball very well. With that, they started to make some mental mistakes and break things down, ultimately leading to Stillman Valley getting the ball and able to get the lead as well as they headed into halftime. But when the game opened up in the second half, we saw Du-Pec make one last mistake. Stillman Valley was able to drive the ball deep into Du-Pec territory, even entering the red zone. But the Du-Pec defense did something that we've needed to see out of them all year. They stood tall. They stood on their heads. They were able to turn away Stillman Valley on a fourth down run in the red zone and swing the momentum of this game. They quickly got a big run from Cooper Hoffman that switched the field and then gave that momentum right back to the Rivermen as they started to run away with this game in the second half to propel them that 50-19 win. With Byron, you have a lot of power, a lot of run. They're going to control the ball. They're going to control the clock. That's why I don't think this game will be too far out of hand for Du-Pec to keep track of. Du-Pec can control the ball when they need to, especially when they're hitting their passes and they're reading the holes that are available. But at the same time, I feel that Du-Pec has enough team speed to match up with what Byron has speed-wise, to where Byron's going to try to grind out the clock and run the ball. Don't get me wrong, I know Byron can score fast. That's clearly evident with the point totals that they've put up this year. And it may end up being that they get a lot of points. Like I said, the 38 points that they're projected to score, I feel could be higher. And I feel might very easily be higher. But I also think that Du-Pec scoring 28 points is very possible. And if they take care of things, they could definitely get well over that. And this could become more of a shootout type of game. And the last team with the ball could be the last team standing. We'll see. Definitely Byron has a lot of favorable things. Their defense is very good. They have not given up a lot of points on the year, so that definitely kind of takes some of the things I've said about Du-Pec having opportunities away. At the same time, though, you take a look at some common opponents between Oregon and Stillman Valley, and you take a look at the common scores, and it shows that Du-Pec is probably about a 14 to 20 point differential in this game, but they're going to have to find ways to move the ball. That's definitely evident because this Byron defense is very stingy, and they're going to hit you hard. And it's not something that Du-Pec's not used to, but they're going to have to be prepared for it, and that line is definitely going to have to beat Byron off the ball. If you can beat them off the ball, you don't necessarily have to win the battle, but if you can neutralize the battle, you're going to give yourself better opportunities. So we'll see how it plays out. My pick in this game is Byron. Obviously, I want the Rivermen to win for the sake of the NUIC, but Byron definitely has been the number 1 team in my state rankings all season long. To me, they're the favorite to win state for the 3rd time in school history. And so they're going to be my pick to win in this game. But, man, would it be awesome if we could see Du-Pec extend this run that they've had another level yet. That gives you a look at what we have coming up as we reach the semifinals for the I8FA, and we reach the quarterfinal run for the 11-man side of IHSA. Big games. All 3 of these games are huge games. I wish we could get to them all. Polo and Amboy play at 1 o'clock in Polo. Annawan-Wethersfield and Lena Winslow are at 2 o'clock in Lena. Du-Pec and Byron are at 1 o'clock in Byron. Unfortunately, we can't make them all. I wish we could, but we'll have ears on the games. I'm pretty sure we'll see Polo and Amboy be on YouTube, so I'll give you another option to watch the game, most likely through Hewlett Public Pro and Dwayne Hewlett. I'm sure he'll have a crew there for that game as he did last year. Annawan-Wethersfield and Lena Winslow will be on NFHS along with Du-Pec and Byron. So if you have the NFHS network channels, you can pick up both those games there. I'll get the links put out later this week. But if you can get to the games, it's $7 if you pay online, $8 in person. So it looks like it's going to be another good weekend for football here as we get into mid-November. These temperatures that we've been experiencing are kind of abnormal, but comfortable at the same time, where you don't have to put on all the winter gear for playoff football in November. But get out to the games, root for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC.